Hi, hello, welcome back to my channel. So as you can see from the title, today I'm going to be doing my June and July wrap up. Usually I do a wrap up for every month, but I ended up in a slump towards the end of June. I knew that I wasn't going to read much in July because I was in the worst slump of my life. I didn't read a book for like, I think about 2 to 3 weeks straight. But I'm blaming it on my mental health because that's kind of why I wasn't reading. I am now back into reading. I really want to read loads in August and I'm hoping that's what's going to happen. I'm no longer in my slump. I hope you all enjoyed this video. Give it a big thumbs up, subscribe, and let's get into the books I read in June and July. The first book I read was Happy Place by Emily Henry. I did start this in May, but I finished it in June, so we're going to put it in my June wrap up. Honestly, it was really hard for me to rate this book because I feel like it was incredibly written. I don't know, I feel like second chance romance just isn't my thing, and I feel like that's an unpopular opinion, but so many of the second chance romances I've struggled to connect to the relationship. I love the friendship, I love the summer vibes, I think the relationship was super cute, I just struggled to connect to the relationship. But I connected to them as characters but not their relationship, if that makes sense. I was deciding between a 3.75 and a 4, but I think I'm going to give it a 4-star because I did really enjoy myself while reading this. It just really took me a while to read, and I think it's because when I was reading it I was enjoying it, but when I put it down I wasn't eager to pick it back up. I also think because I took a break from this book and had to film a video, I then had to come back to this book. That made me lose connection with it as well. So yeah, I don't know, I feel like there's reasons why I struggled to connect to it, and I think maybe if I reread it I'd enjoy it more, because I think because it took me so long it was hard for me to connect. Sorry, that was really rambly, but yeah, I gave this a 4-star. I really enjoy it. I loved when all the friends were going out and things like that. This is about Harriet and Wynne, and they were engaged but they broke up, and their friendship group don't know this. They decided to keep it a secret from them. It's been, I think, 6 months, and they are all going on a trip together. They all go on a trip to this cottage that they go on every single year, and it's the only time they really get to be together. But sadly the cottage is getting sold, so when Harriet turns up at the cottage, she wasn't expecting Wynne to be there because they agreed that he wasn't going to be there, but he was. She had a little bit of a shock, so they decided to fake date in front of all their friends till the end of the trip because they didn't want to ruin the vibes of the group, and because this was their last trip they didn't want to make it a bad trip. Throughout this whole book there's so much deeper elements to it. It is so raw and beautiful, and I feel like a lot of people can take something from this book and relate to it in a lot of ways. I honestly loved the friendship group more in this than the relationship, but I did still really enjoy the relationship, and they broke my heart a lot. Can't wait to read more Emily Henry, and as you can see I tabbed it quite a lot. Again, I'd never tabbed a book apart from Magnolia Parks, and I've realised that when I read I shouldn't tab because it makes me lose connection. So yeah, gonna stop that. I think I might reread this, probably not this year but I definitely will, just to see if I like it more without all those elements that I just said. But yeah, it's a perfect summer book though because they do so much summery stuff in it, but it does have really deep elements, so just a warning there. These are in order by the way, but these are all the books I read in June. Next we have Mr. Wrong Number by Lynn Painter. This wasn't my favourite Lynn Painter book. I still really enjoyed it, but I much prefer her YA novels. I just connect to the characters more. It was still super funny though. Lynn Painter is one of the most hilarious writers. I love her comedy so much. She writes the best rom-coms. I still gave this a 3.75 because I still thoroughly enjoyed myself while reading this. It was so freaking good. But yeah, this is about Olivia, and Olivia has always been a bit of a klutz. She doesn't have the best luck. She ends up having to move in with her brother, but she doesn't know that her brother lives with Colin Beck, who she's always had a vendetta against because he's always been a little bit rude to her and teased her. So she wasn't very happy about this, but she ends up having to live with him and her brother. And one day while she's living there she gets a mysterious text from Mr. Wrong Number, and they start exchanging texts for a couple of months. It's super cute, super flirty, super bantery. Colin Beck soon realises that the mysterious texter was Olivia. He's confused because he always saw Olivia as this clumsy girl. He didn't really have attraction to her, but now suddenly he sees her as so much more after texting her through these Mr. Wrong number. It was a super fun plot. The Summer of Broken Rules by K.L. Walther. Oh my freaking god. This was the perfect summer book. I enjoyed myself so freaking much. It was so cute. It was so fun. This is going to be a book that I'm probably going to want to read every summer just because of how good it was. Like the whole Assassin's game that they did in this, I just wanted to join in. And I loved the romance as well. I thought it was super sweet. I also loved how it was a main plot, but it also wasn't. Like, I liked how it was about Meredith's story and her coming back after mourning her sister. So yeah, I feel like I should say what this is about after saying that. But this is about Meredith Fox, and she lost her sister 18 months ago. So she basically shut everyone out. She didn't speak to anyone because she was really struggling with the loss of her sister. And she decides this year on her family vacation, she's determined to join the world again and to connect to people again. Her family has a tradition of playing assassins, and her sister Claire loved this game. She was really good at it. So Meredith decides she wants to win this game for her sister in legacy of her. While she's doing this, she actually makes a bet, not a bet, an alliance. I loved everything about this book. I gave it 4 stars. Next up we have Flawless by Elsie Silver. And oh guys, when I think about this book I just want to scream in excitement because it was just perfection. Literal perfection. I loved this so much. I loved the characters, I loved the ranch, I loved the environment, the small town elements, even though it's not really small town. I loved the city girl trying to navigate the ranch world, and yeah, I loved the grumpy sunshine. So much about this I loved. And Rhett and Summer's relationship was so freaking adorable, and I loved the tension in this book as well. Grumpy Sunshine just always freaking hits, as I've said a million times. If you can't tell, this was a 5 stars. So this is about Rhett and Summer. Basically Rhett ends up, I think it's like he has this campaign with this milk company, and he ends up saying that he actually hates milk and he's a bull rider. So the company's not very happy about this. So his, what would you call it, agent, his agent decides that his image needs a little bit of cleaning up because he just keeps ruining it. He has such a bad boy reputation, and his agent says he needs to clean up his image. So his agent sends his daughter to look after Rhett, and they have this tension between them, this pull. They are very grumpy towards each other, and just seeing them develop their connection was so much fun. This was honestly such a page turner for me. I just could not stop reading this. I loved it so freaking much. But yeah, I loved Elsie Silver's writing, and I can't wait to continue this series. Definitely recommend. Next we have 7 Days in June, which I gave 4 stars. I thought this was such an incredible story and so heartbreaking at the same time. I wasn't expecting the things that happened in this to happen, so please look up trigger warnings because it does get quite dark in some parts of this. I enjoyed following along with Ava and her story and seeing her discover herself and figure herself out and trying to recover from the things that have happened to her, and seeing her and her daughter's relationship, so freaking sweet. Seeing Shane connect with her daughter was just the most wholesome thing ever. This is about Ava and Shane. Basically, Ava is a single mother, she's a best-selling author, and Shane is also an author too, and they spent 7 days together when they were younger, and they fell madly in love, which also that was kind of unrealistic, but when you read the book it kind of makes sense. They end up seeing each other at a New York event. We follow along with them while they fall for each other again, and it's just about 2 people that met at the wrong time, finding each other again and figuring out if they're right for each other. Love and Other Words by Christina Lauren. This is going to be a shock because one of the other books I read by Christina Lauren was 5 stars for me. People actually rate the other one lower. I love this one the most, but I was the opposite way. Again, second chance romance. I don't know, there's just something about this trope, and it just doesn't vibe with me. I just really struggle to connect. I think it's the past and present timeline, because usually I connect to one of the timelines more, which was the case with this book. I connected more with the past time. I connected more with the past timeline than the present. When the present timeline came up, I was just like, take me back to the past. I don't care about the present. Yeah, that's kind of how I felt. But this book again was really, really beautiful, and such a sad and tragic story at the same time. I also was kind of confused about what Elliot did, and if it was, I originally thought it was something, and then I went on TikTok and found out it was something else, and then I was like, oh really? But it wasn't written in the right way, if that's what it was intended to be, in my personal opinion. But guys, the favourite word thing, I'm talking about things in the book, if you haven't read it I'm sorry, but the favourite word thing in this book literally had me swooning so hard. I loved them in the past timeline. They were the cutest things ever. But yeah, if it were just them in the past, I probably would have given it 5 stars, apart from what Elliot did. Yeah, I did give this 3.75 because I still really loved it. But I don't know, it really threw me off at the end. But this is about Macy and Elliot, and they met when they were young. They quickly became best friends. They connected on a whole other level. Elliot makes a mistake, and we don't know what this mistake is until the end of the book, and it breaks them apart. And they haven't seen each other, how long was it? They haven't seen each other for 11 years since Elliot did what he did. Macy sees him in a coffee shop. She doesn't know what to do with it. She doesn't know how to feel. She doesn't know if she can forgive Elliot for what he did. The next book I read was If He Had Been With Me by Laura Nolan, and this book literally brought me to absolute shreds. If you've seen the reading vlog, you know. But guys, after I read this, I was anxious for like an hour. I could not stop thinking about these characters, and it's not even real people, but I was so anxious over them. I felt so sick and sad and heartbroken. I've never had a book make me feel the way this book made me feel. It was an instant 5 stars, because just wow. The way Laura Nolan wrote this as well, I just thought it was absolute genius, because she really took you on a journey. She made you connect to these characters. She actually told you at the start what the ending was going to be, but you kind of forget that she tells you that, because you just fall in love with Autumn and Finn throughout this story. And then when the ending happens, it just hits you like a ton of bricks. And literally just, your heart literally just goes like that in literal seconds. And it made me so sad, because I knew throughout this whole book, when Autumn and Finn were connecting again, what was going to happen. And that just made me connect more. It made me more sad for them, because they didn't know what was going to happen. I did. It was so freaking sad. This is about Autumn and Finn, and Autumn and Finn were literal best friends. They were inseparable till they went to middle school, and they drifted apart. Autumn became a bit of an outcast. Finn became someone that was really popular. Everyone wanted to be friends with him, and yeah, they just completely disconnected. But Autumn and Finn kind of had to always be around each other, because their mums were best friends. They couldn't even really have a conversation with each other, because they drifted so much. They just saw each other because of their families, but eventually they do start to connect again, and they realise that maybe there was more to them than they thought. They both feel something for each other, but they're not willing to admit it, because they've been drifted for so long. I don't know, this book just made me so sad. I connected to it so much. But yeah, 5 stars, instant 5 stars. Please read it. It's one of the most beautiful books I've ever read. I just thought the story was incredible. The fact that this could actually happen as well just made it more heartbreaking. Now we're getting on to the books I read in July. I only read 3 books. Even though I didn't read much in July, I loved all 3 of these books. The first one I read was The Young Honeymooners by Christina Lauren. As I said, most people love this one and hate this one, but I actually loved this one. This was just more my vibe. It was tropes that I like. It was grumpy sunshine. It was very bantery. It was hilarious. The holiday vibes, the summer vibes. I just really loved it. Yes, there was things that Ethan did that I didn't completely agree with, but I still gave it 5 stars because of how much fun I had with it. I rate books on how much fun I have with them, and if I connect to the relationship, and if I love them, which I did in this book. I just thought it was so good. Yeah. Even though the ending really hurt, like really, really hurt. I wish people would have supported Olive more. That's all I'm going to say, but definitely read this in the summer. It was absolute perfection for that. But yeah, this is about Olive and Ethan. And basically they are at Olive's sister's wedding and there's a buffet. And everyone eats the buffet apart from Olive because Olive is allergic to seafood and Ethan doesn't like eating from buffets because he's scared of food poisoning, which is actually what happens to everyone. Everyone gets food poisoning apart from these two. And there's a honeymoon up for grabs since her sister and her husband can't go together. Olive and Ethan agree to go on this honeymoon together with rules. They basically say we'll keep out of each other's hairs. We've just got to act like we're husband and wife in front of these people so they don't know that we're not actually her sister and her fiance, because they kind of have to lie. So yeah, they have to fake date. A lot happened while they were on this trip. It was really good. Yeah, 5 stars. I loved it. Unpopular opinion, but you know, I'm a rom-com girly, what can I say? Red, white and royal blue, and if this was just a relationship it would be a 5 stars, but because of the heavy politics in this I give it a 4 star because I did lose interest when they were talking about politics. Some of the jokes I didn't really understand. Sometimes this book made me feel stupid, which I kind of am, especially when it comes to politics, but I was gushing and swooning and kicking my legs and smiling so hard. This relationship was everything. I cannot wait for the movie. It comes out so soon and I'm just so freaking excited to see Alex and Prince Henry on my screen because their dynamic was one of the most fun dynamics ever. I just loved them. So good. This is about Alex and Henry, and basically they have to fake a friendship between them because I forgot what they were actually at. I think they were at a wedding, but I'm not 100% sure. They were at a wedding and they end up getting in a bit of a brawl in front of the wedding cake, and then the wedding cake falls over and goes all over the two of them, and this ends up all over the newspapers, all over the internet. Their agents and the people that work for them basically don't want people thinking that they don't like each other because it would be bad for their images or something along those lines. Again, politics, don't understand it, but yeah, so they have to fake a friendship between them, and the dynamic was so good when they had to fake being friends and then they actually became friends, and then they kept speaking and connecting more and they had to figure out how they actually felt about each other. I really wish it wasn't so politics heavy because this relationship, they are one of my favourite relationships. I just can't give it 5 stars because of how many times I lost interest in this book, because about half of it was politics. So yeah, 4 stars. Still really good though. I definitely recommend. They are one of my favourite relationships. Yeah, the dynamic, because the fact that he's a prince and then Alex is the son of a politician, very complicated. They have a lot of things to figure out, and yeah, some parts in this were so heartbreaking as well. Like, I'm not going to say what scene because I feel like it's spoiler, but there was one specific scene that literally made me so sad. I loved Alex. I loved his charisma and how sarcastic he was, how funny he was. I just cannot wait to see that on the screen because I just know he's going to be hilarious. And oh my god, they casted them so well in my opinion. They look exactly how I imagined them. Prince Henry, I loved how he had this image, but Alex quickly realised that that wasn't actually who he was. He just had to hide these things about himself for his image. Lastly, we have Twisted Hate by Anna Huang, and this was my least favourite book in this series so far, but I still had such a good time with it. It was a 3.75 for me. I am debating giving it a 4 star, but I'm not 100% sure. I will put my official rating here, but I think I need to give it a 3.75 just because I didn't enjoy it as much as the other two books, and I gave them 4 star. But the first 100 pages of this and the last 100 pages, absolutely amazing. Was literally stuck to the pages, loved it so much. But there was like a middle ground where I lost interest a little bit, lost connection with the relationship, didn't enjoy it as much, so that's why I'm giving it a 3.75. I felt like this could be 100 pages shorter. The trope in this, enemies to benefits, isn't my favourite. Like the fact that they just jumped into things straight away and then developed the connection, it just lost me a little bit. But I did enjoy the enemies to lovers trope in this. I felt like it was really well done because they did really hate each other at one point, and them fighting their feelings for each other was really good as well. But I don't know, I just didn't enjoy it as much as the other two. And also when Josh did what he did, that really hurt. I think Josh did really hit because it felt so realistic. He was definitely the most realistic story in this series. But yeah, it felt so realistic because what he did could actually happen to me or someone else, because he was so hurt. His actions were kind of understandable, but it still really broke me what he did to her, and it's really hard to forgive him. And I think that's because it's so realistic and it feels like something that someone could do to me or someone that I know. So yeah, whereas the other two don't seem as realistic. I don't know, wasn't my favourite, but still really enjoyed it. The tension in this book, Anna Huang knows how to write tension, she really does. This is about Josh Chen and Jules Ambrose. Josh Chen is the brother of Ava in Twisted Love, and it's his story and him falling in love with Jules Ambrose, which is his sister's best friend. Which I thought I'd really enjoy that trope, but I actually enjoyed the brother's best friend trope in Twisted Love more. They end up in an agreement to be enemies to benefits because they have such an attraction to each other even though they hate each other. This did make up for some good spicy scenes. Some of the quotes in this, incredible. It was so sad as well. So yeah, 3.75, kind of indifferent about this one, but I did really enjoy myself. Don't think I didn't enjoy it, because I definitely did. I read it in like 3 days. That says it all. That is all the books I read in June and July. I hope you all enjoyed this video. Give it a big thumbs up, subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next one.